Hello everyone, this is Vaishnavi. I have graduated from Delhi University and I'm currently pursuing my chartered accountancy course. I will be hosting the interview for today. Welcome to Success Dreams channel interview of inspirational village diamonds and achievers. Today we are honored to interview an amazing leader, a humble human being and a shining leader in the international space, Dr. Rajendra Bommakanti. It's going to be an amazingly motivational and inspirational session for all youth. Dr. Rajendra Bommakanti IAS hails from a small village in Adilabad district of Telangana. His journey is truly inspirational. He started his education from Telugu medium government schools and he went on to pursue BSc Agriculture from Agriculture University in Rajendra Nagar, Hyderabad. He holds a master's degree and a PhD from Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi, which is a world-renowned institution for agriculture. Coming to his professional career, he was selected for Indian Administrative Services in the year 1995 in the Bihar cadre. He also represented the Agricultural University at the Republic Day Parade. He held various positions in the Bihar administration and the government of India, including the position of Joint Secretary in Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. Currently, he is the Minister for Agriculture at the Indian Embassy in Rome. He is also India's alternate permanent representative to Food and Agriculture Organization, International Fund for Agricultural Development, and World Food Program. Sir, thank you for being with us today. It is a pleasure to have this opportunity. So we'll start off without any delay. Firstly, I would like to start off by asking you if you can share a little bit about your family background and your educational journey, and what kind of challenges you had to encounter in your education.
Thank you very much, Vaishnavi, for your nice introduction. First, I'll start with my family background and also my. So I am from a small village called Kauta B in both Mandal of Adilabad district in Telangana, which is about 60 kilometers from the district headquarters, the southwestern part of Maharashtra. So my father was in the forest department. He retired as a forester. He joined as a forest guard, but he retired as a forester, the state government. And my mother is a homemaker. My father, he passed away in 2003. My mother is living in a village now with my sister. And we are 3 brothers and 2 sisters. All are well settled. And my wife is also a homemaker. She is my relative from my village only. And I've got 2 sons who are graduated. One is an engineer, another is a lawyer. They are pursuing their careers now. So this is a brief introduction about my family background. We are from a agriculture family, rural background completely. My educational background you already mentioned, but I'll just briefly mention. I've done my schooling from Jilla Parishad High School, Kauta, in my own village. Then intermediate from Government College, Adilabad. BSc Agriculture from College of Agriculture, Rajendra Nagar, that is earlier Andhra Pradesh Agriculture University, now Professor Jaishankar, Telangana State Agriculture University now. And MSc and PhD from Indian Agricultural Research Institute. So I joined the Indian Administrative Service in 1995 and allocated to Bihar cadre. You already mentioned, I'm sorry for the repetition, but this is the background. So regarding the, you asked about the challenges. So first of all, I would like to tell that till completion of my 10th class, I did not see the district headquarters. I just studied in village only. You didn't know how, and there was only source of communication was a Gram Panchayat community radio. So we used to hear the news every day, 7:05. We used to get Telugu news in the morning and also evening. You don't know, you were not born that time. So Telugu news, we used to, the community that is, and very few people used to get the newspaper, Enadu newspaper those days. So that is the, and also being an agriculture family, so I was engaged only day-to-day agricultural activities and the household chores like taking the cattle to the forest and grazing them on holiday. So doing all agriculture. So every agricultural activity I've done from sowing to the harvest. I used to participate in all the activities. So there was no touch with the outside world. And for my examinations, we used to have our 10th class examination center in the Taluka headquarters, that is both, which is about 6 to 7 kilometers. We used to go running and write the exam and come back. So that is I don't say it is a challenge. We also enjoyed that period, but we didn't know anything about the world. And of course, at family level, it was a lower and middle class family. We had electricity, but there was no regular supply. Only for the sake of electricity, electricity was there. So, but this is the thing I must say. Then coming to the challenges you asked about, I have regarding the language, Telugu medium, English medium. So I will also, and I had another problem, stammering problem. I'll deal these three problems. The first challenge regarding the rural, I've already dealt with, and second is the English medium. So first, we were introduced English alphabets in class 5. So we didn't know anything. Hindi and English were first taught us in class 5. And till that time, we only used to write on a slate with the pens, the chalk, hard chalk. We used to only write. First time in class 6, we were introduced with the pen and paper. So that is of course, most of us during our time, it is not that I am an exception, but our generation, we had such a background. So English somehow, but I would like to give credit to our school. It was one of the best schools, I must say. I owe everything to my school. I had excellent teachers. One headmaster by name Chinna Reddy was a strict disciplinarian. He's still alive. He's about 85, 86 years old now. I go and meet him. He's an amazing personality, and he was a scholar. And all the exams, whether it is unit tests or quarterly exams, half-yearly, annual exams, were conducted on time. No absolute, fairness. Then we had. They used to organize general knowledge tests and essay writing competitions and memory contests. I was not very good at sports, but I used to participate in all these events. So really, it was very, excellent school. And every day on the basis of newspaper and the news which you hear from the community radio, so they used to write on the blackboard every day the daily events and the news. We used to note down in a copy. So this is what the school has really contributed a lot to my personality and development. And then one thing, then for this, general knowledge test, we used to depend on the other books also. So when my grandmother, my father's mother, grandmother, when she went for a pilgrimage, they used to go for pilgrimage for 10 to 15 days in a chartered bus. All the villagers used to contribute. So that was a pilgrimage. Tirtha Yatralu, they used to call. So my brothers and sisters and other relatives, they used to ask, you bring some toys for me, some sweets for me. But I gave in writing that general knowledge book by P.V. Chalapati Rao and J.V. Ramanaya English grammar. So I asked these two books for me. So she says that, after crossing Hyderabad while returning, she stopped the bus and say that, I forgot to get these 2 books. Without these books, the bus can't move. So, so she brought those 2 books to me, and I still keep those books with me. It's a really very, very, so these are the foundations. And then the other intermediate, I would like to tell you about my intermediate. Intermediate was a very tough journey. So my father was working somewhere, but somehow there was some problem. He could not continue his job for some time. So we had problems. So I had to work in a printing press. And that is one. Then there were no books. So I used to borrow books, and it looks very, people may not believe. I used to copy the whole book for 3-4 days and return it back, because you can't keep it for a long time. And in the process of, writing, so I could remember everything and I could do well in the exam. So I would like to tell you, Vaishnavi, despite being in village, so my school got 2 district ranks. My first ranker, Narendra Reddy, and I was 3rd ranker in the district. So first and 3rd rank and we also got state level ranks, and we got merit scholarships. So one of our teachers, Chandrabanu Singh, said, if you want to go for higher studies, you study in Adilabad. Some of them studied in block headquarters, Taluka. So we went to Adilabad. So Adilabad, this was a story. And in Adilabad also, there's a big class of 120, 130. So only 15 students passed in the intermediate. Only 4 got first class. I was one of them. So I got about 78% of marks in optionals. So I got BSc Agriculture. So the challenge, I would like to say that in case of BSc Agriculture, while filling the application form, we didn't know how to fill the application form. So we traveled to a long distance to a village who was knowing English to fill the application form, and we have done registered post. And then we were waiting for the results. So those days it was only on the basis of marks. So I got the BSc Agriculture. So there was no other, we didn't know anything about medicine, or we didn't know anything about the other options, because one of my relatives from neighboring village, he was studying BSc Agriculture. So he was a role model when he was coming to the village with good dress and tuck in and spectacles and all. So we used to see that, oh, he's a big man. So I want to become like this. So he was a source of inspiration. I only wanted to become join BSc Agriculture. Of course, unfortunately, he's no more. He passed away in an accident in 1988. Lokeshwar, my cousin, is my role model. So he's no more. So he inspired me to join the BSc Agriculture. So after joining BSc Agriculture, English was really a tough thing for me. It was very difficult to understand. Basically, we had mathematics course, that is SM100. So they used to obtuse angle, acute angle. We didn't know. So I used to see the dictionary and ask teacher, what is this? So unfortunately, we had the Northeastern students from Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya. So we used to interact with them, deliberate to converse in English too, so that we can learn English. Then we used to read the English newspapers like Hindu, Indian Express, and see the dictionary. After 15 days, the same words were repeated. Vaishnavi, I'm very happy to say that in the second year, it is on record that, so it is there in the annual report also. So I participated in English essay writing competition. So I got a prize in English essay writing competition in university. So that has really motivated me. So initially we really faced difficulties. I got only 8 marks out of 25 in physics, despite knowing everything, because I'm not able to understand convection and conduction. We know something in Telugu. So it was very difficult. So then went on. So then, I'm also happy to share that in BSc Agriculture, out of 180, 160, only 20, 25 of them, we, without repeat examination, without writing repeat periodical, so pass. People, of course, they pass, most of them pass, but they drop for the sake of dropping some medical, something. But I never dropped an examination, never wrote a repeat periodical, and yet passed with, with 8.6 OGPA, 8.6 OGPA. Of course, not very high, but its first class is very good those days. So this is what my journey. I didn't in the beginning, definitely I had problem, but content is more important than your language. So only first semester we had difficulties. After that, no difficulty. We had English courses also. We used to listen to the English news every day. First time we saw TV after joining Hyderabad.
Oh.
Yes, and then first when I joined for BSc Agriculture for the first time, saw Hyderabad, and then went to Delhi for MSc. First time I I visited Delhi. So these are the challenges, Vaishnavi, regarding English, regarding rural background, regarding the stammering. I would like to just tell the stammering that is very, it will inspire some of them. Most of the people are facing and they don't have confidence. So stammering, I don't know how it started, but it was perceptible right from the beginning. It was there. So there was no effort on part of family or anybody, relatives, to cure my problem. Like these days, if something is there, people take him to some speech therapy center. But those days, nobody bothered, and they used to ridicule me by name, stammerer, Tondrodu, Nattivodu, this kind of thing. They used to identify me. So I used to be very shy. I never used to participate. If somebody asked my name, it is very difficult to tell. I used to struggle a lot. And while traveling in a bus, I was scared to ask, tell the name of my village, because you can't pronounce properly. So I used to give money to others to buy ticket for me. I never wore a watch because somebody would ask the time, because I can't tell time. So these are the difficult. Especially I would like to narrate one incident. This was in BSc Agriculture, for responding to attendance. If they call your roll number, you will say yes sir, somehow that was fine. But sometimes the teacher used to ask the numbers. The class of 30, 35, just who are present, what number just. So I was scared of my number was 50. I was really scared of. I used to struggle to tell my number. So I used to sit next to the person whose ID number was 59, Rajshekhar, who's one of the brilliant students. He was a topper. I used to sit next to him. So he used to tell for me. I used to pretend in such a way that I'm busy with something. So he used to tell my number also, 58 and 59. So it went on for a long time. And especially when I went for him, but I had some kind of a fire that I should do something in life. So MSc people, there is a, institution called IRI. If you go there, there are better opportunities for jobs, something that people used to tell. So I went to, there were 3-stage examination. One is your merit, class 10 intermediate graduation marks, and then entrance and interview. So when I interview, there were 10 professors who were sitting. When I went there, I could not open my mouth. They asked first question, second question, third question. I couldn't answer anything. So I was about to leave but I was trying to answer. The professor, he identified, he gave me a piece of paper. Can you write? Then I started writing all the things. So luckily I got seat in IRI. So this is what, then I think you asked some, these are the challenges. This continued even after, when I was preparing for civil services. So people used to ridicule me and then discourage me. Arey, you are having stammering, you can't open a mouth. How can you write civil services? Interview is a big thing. But then, yes, but I appeared for interview 4 times, civil service interview. I got very low marks in the interview when I used to tell them, sir, I got the problem of stammering. No, don't worry. They used to make me comfort, but they used to give very low marks in the interview. So, but third time and fourth time I got good marks and finally got into. And even after coming to the civil services, after joining the IAS also I had this problem. I used to prepare for 15 days to giving speech for 15th August and 26th January. You have to speak as a sub-collector or a collector. So, but I went for speech therapy program. I do meditation, and one of the doctors, Dr. Friendly, told me, Saab, when you just speak that, the others don't know anything. You just have confidence and you speak and you will be all right. So that had made the difference. And after that, there was no going back in one of the speeches. After 2-3 years of my service, I still faced problems. But after that, no problem. I'm able to now give speeches in the international organization. I give guest lectures. I go to Mussoorie to speak to the probationers. So the point I'm trying to get, this is many students, many families, they may be having some speech defects, some confidence. So this is what the fellow from a village background and without any, thing. So we could, with confidence, with practice, one can definitely achieve. One has to practice. One has to have a desire to do something. So now I feel so proud that in the international organization, when I speak, people look at you, the way you speak. So from that level to this level, it is really, it's really very, very inspiring for me, myself, sometimes. I can't believe.
Inspiring for us also, sir. And these are challenges which we as present generation can't even imagine. That, it is beyond our imagination. And so next, I just wanted to ask you, what was your motivation for civil services? Was there any specific defining moment where you decided, okay, I'm going to take up civil services? And what kept you going through the phase where, attempt after attempt, when you had to go through the interviews? What kept you going through that phase?
Thank you, Vaishnavi. This is a very good question. So, frankly speaking, I didn't know anything about IAS till class 10. Only when my general knowledge tests used to take place, I used to remember the abbreviation IAS, IPS, UNO, USA, something like that. We used to remember those abbreviations for general knowledge. Other than that, I didn't know anything. We have never seen collector, we never heard about the IAS, nothing of that sort. Only Tahsildar and the Patwari, these are the only institutions we were knowing. Then in intermediate, when I joined for intermediate, there used to be a collector Chaurasta, collectorate, they used to call collectorate road, collectorate Chaurasta. So for college function, Mr. A.K. Goyal was a collector. He participated as a chief guest. He spoke so well in English and Hindi with anecdotes, so inspiring. But of course, it was only like anything. That was only interaction I'm telling. It's not that he inspired or anything of that sort. So that was only knowing. We know about IAS or civil services. We never imagined and we couldn't dream anything. I must very honestly tell you. When we joined for BSc Agriculture, so one person
I think there is some issue with the Sir's network.
It got disconnected, Vaishnavi.
Yeah, one second, sir. I'll just add you to the spotlight.
Is it the problem at my level or you?
Now it's audible. Now it's audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay. Yeah. Regarding IAS, I told you. Where were we, Vaishnavi?
You were telling
connection
us,
lost.
No, you've heard about IAS so far, but you've never dreamt of it also, and then you're continuing with.
Yeah. So in intermediate, A.K. Goyal was the collector, and then now, of course, again in BS Agriculture, when we joined, Mr. Ramana Reddy was the, he got into IAS from our college. So that was the only thing. Then when we joined for BS for my MSc in Delhi, so I wanted to become a forest service, Indian Forest Service officer, because my father was in the forest department. So, but for that there are medical specifications. So many people got into this one, but they are disqualified on medical grounds because again there is some problem. Yes, it's okay now.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. You can continue.
Okay. I'm sorry. So I prepared very well for the Forest Service examination. In 1 week, I was about to write the exam, but I wanted to get my eyes checked before writing the medical leave MPhil. Otherwise, so to my horror, I was found to be colorblind. So my dream shattered to become a Forest Service officer. So then what to do? So everybody was preparing for civil services in IRI. So what is the best option? So I was good at Telugu. My father was very good in Telugu. So he used to keep Telugu books. I was having some background. So Telugu literature I took as optional, and agriculture was my own subject. And then luckily in the first attempt when I wrote prelims, I cleared prelims and then went up to the interview. In interview, I could not get anything. And second attempt, I got a group A service. And third attempt, I got group A service, and fourth attempt got into IAS. So there's what I'm trying to say, that there is no inspiration or there is no kind. After seeing the thing, I wanted to become a forest service officer, then but couldn't become. So which forced me to join the civil prepare, and luckily got into it. And I didn't know with my handicap like stammering and all. But I wanted to prove that I can do it. So I wrote well in the written examination. So interview, though I got less marks, I still could get into IAS. Yes. So this is and I did not take any coaching because it will unnecessary. You require money also. I didn't have sufficient money to go for coaching. I just prepared on my own, and we had a very good environment in IRI. We used to discuss. There are very good students. We used to discuss, and they used to have combined study, and that's how. It's all luck, I can say. I don't say that yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to also ask you.
Yes, why?
As a civil servant, you are when a person is expected to have certain qualities, have certain level of knowledge, have some capabilities. So how do you think one can enhance those capabilities? How do you think one can improve their knowledge? I mean, how are you able to do it? Any special or specific, tips or things like that you can share?
Actually, preparation of examination itself is really make you so strong. You will know everything. Sorry, not everything, but I should not use the word everything, but most of the thing history, geography, polity, economy, current affairs, science and technology, and also analysis. analysis, how to analyze the things. So that will really, examination preparation itself, and 3-stage examination, with the preliminary examination and mains examination and interview. So 3-stage examination definitely makes you very strong, and the selection process is very good. And the training is also very good. 2 years rigorous training, 1 year in the academy and 1 year in the field. And after coming from the field, you have to share your experiences, you will sharpen your, and during field training, you will interact with the collector and different organs of the government. So definitely enhance the capabilities. One learns definitely. And it is a great opportunity. You will get inspired, do something for the people, and you will change the lives of the people. With your small intervention, you can really change a lot of things. It was very inspiring. And Bihar cadre allotted to me. Hindi was the issue, but I learned Hindi very well. And then we have to write revenue orders in Hindi. So 10 to 15 pages, sometimes 20 pages revenue orders, we have to dictate and speak in Hindi, the orders. So that capability is definitely, it comes, and by seeing others, there are role models, there are officers. So you will learn by experience, and you will also face problems, challenges, one commit mistakes. So these are enhances the capabilities. So in the next question, I think that if you ask me about 3-4 experiences or changes, I can also tell you. Yeah. Yes, Vaishnavi.
Since you mentioned how you got the opportunity to serve people, I wanted to elaborate on that. How did various positions that you have held, what kind of opportunities were presented to you through those positions, and in specific, if you have any memories, as your time as a civil servant, which you hold very close to your heart, if you can share it.
So of course, during training itself, we have learned so many things, and I got an opportunity to deliver to the people. And as a SDM, subdivisional magistrate at sub-collector, it's called, and also collector. I was collector for more than 9.5 years in 6 districts, including capital districts of Patna. So it was, and then secretary in different departments like rural roads, urban development, finance, industry. So it was a very good experience. So I'll give you some. There are many things, due to shortage of time, I can't tell you, but that gives me satisfaction. 3-4 things I would like to tell you. Number one is bicycles, introduction of bicycles. So as a collector Patna, so there was a scheme called Rashtriya Samvikas Yojana. So we had a flexi fund and discretionary fund. So we can, we have got innovative way to design this program. That was a fund given to the collectors those days. So we use this fund for giving bicycles to the girl students of class 9th and 10th in the district. And the money was limited, so we have to give it only to marginal section SC/ST girls. We had provided the bicycles. And Honorable Chief Minister graced the occasion for the function. So, we have seen the girls with bicycles. There was so much of enthusiasm, happiness in there. And after 1 week, the state governments introduced in the whole of the state. This program was upscaled, and it was mentioned by Honorable CM on different occasions. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction. That has really increased the enrollment, and dropout rates were low, and the women empowerment. Girls were really empowered to go on bicycles for 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers to the school in a group and come back boldly. So that is really gives me a lot of satisfaction. Second example I would like to give you regarding voter slips. Voter slips is what during elections, assembly elections and parliament elections, the political parties give voter slips to the voters, indicating their serial number in the voter list, and also which polling station and how to go and all that. But sometimes it is not objective. They only give to their committed voters. They don't give it to others. Especially some people are left out. So in the district of Saran, when I was posted in 2009 in parliament elections, so we introduced voter slips. Government, we developed a software and printed the voter slip for all the voters in the district, and government has given the voter slips to the voters. That is increased the voters percentage, voting percentage, and also especially the poorer sections of the community, they voted fearlessly. They know where to go and how to vote. So now I'm very happy to say that it has been introduced in the whole of the country today. It has become it was introduced in the whole of the state. Now the whole country, I presented to the election commission. The chief election commissioner, S.Y.K. Qureshi, mentioned in his book, Undocumented Wonder. So he mentioned about this experiment, so that gives me a lot of satisfaction. Third example I give you, when as a secretary rural roads, of course, we are only, of course, it is the government's vision, it is a chief minister's vision. We are only there to execute. It is not that we should not take credit that I have done everything. No, nothing. We are only there as an instrument of the government, and but it gave me a lot of satisfaction. We digitize all the roads and the unconnected villages in Bihar, though it was going on. So I'm happy to say that I was there for longest period of time, almost 3.5 years as secretary, continuously. So we could construct more than 30,000 kilometers of roads. And Bihar is now, of course, the state government's honorable chief minister, the state government is that vision. But I was part of that program that I want to say. And then we digitized, GIS mapping was done for each and every village. And that gave, and all the, especially the tolas where the marginal sections of the society, where the small population, they were not connected. So all these tolas and small hamlets and habitations were connected. So that is the biggest satisfaction I get. Of course, there are many now, but one more last I would like to tell you the example, that is the land revenue. For anything, if you want to do land is the critical factor. If you want to construct roads, want to do anything, so land revenue administration is very, very important. So there is a transfer mutation because of death or transfer or gift. The land is transferred, but it is not properly entered into the register, or due to bureaucratic red tapeism or whatever. So we organized camps. So in Patna district, we have 3.5 lakh such cases were disposed in a matter of 3 months' time. Big camps were organized. It was a big relief to the people. So many land disputes were resolved. We identified land disputes directory and started out what is the reason for the land dispute, who are the parties involved. So we negotiated, and also the government land was distributed, thousands of acres of land was distributed. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction to do things. Yes. So there are many, I don't want to narrate, but these are the ones which gives me satisfaction. Yes.
So sir, at present you hold a very crucial position at the Indian Embassy in Rome, and you also represent our country in various international organizations related to agriculture and food. So how do you think that your role is contributing to the global issues such as poverty and hunger alleviation? Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah. So as India's representative in these 3 Rome-based UN agencies, FAO, IFAD, and WFP, I represent India in the governing bodies which take the decisions. Which governing bodies like council, conference, board meetings, executive board meetings. So I participate and represent India. So especially the issues which you mentioned, that is achieving zero hunger is a major issue.
Yeah.
By 2030, we have to, the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So in 2020, the number of hungry people have gone up to, in the world, it is about 811 million. 811 million people suffered hunger. Due to COVID pandemic, it is further aggravated.
Yeah.
So as the body of nations, as a collectively, we have to work and formulate the policies and give guidance and direction to the governments. So we share the experiences, the positive experiences and the problematic experiences. So this is where we can really contribute. And also the eradicating poverty. Poverty, there are about 689 million people in the world are in acute poverty. So we have to formulate the policies, we have to work together. So this is one. And then emergency response due to conflict and war and other climate related issues. There are so many people, there are migrations. So about 200 million people are affected by emergencies due to natural disasters, and about 1.5 billion people live in the conflict affected areas. 1.5 billion. So and then the role of UN agencies in Rome is critical to ensure food supply to these people. And then next issue is addressing the climate challenge, climate change challenge. So rising temperatures, precipitation, that's we all, I don't want to repeat that, but climate change really is perceptible. And especially the agriculture country like India, it's very, very sensitive. So we have to really work on this. So as a body of nations, there is a clear division between the developed and developing countries. So they've got their own ideas, our own ideas. So as a developing country, we have to really push our ideas, and our interests have to be properly placed in different fora. And the next issue is, one of the biggest challenges is the food loss and waste.
Yeah.
About 1/3 of the food we produce for human consumption is lost or wasted, which is about 1.3 billion tons per year. So we have to make policies. So I was chairing the committee to formulate the voluntary guidelines for this food loss and waste reduction at FAO. So in this way we contribute. Then one of the most the United Nations General Assembly, with the support of 70 other countries, declared 2023 as International Year of Millets. Millets are, so till my class 10, I was only eating jowar roti. We didn't know rice and all that. So millets are very important. They are climate resilient, very nutritious. So we have to, so India, Government of India has sponsored this this event, and it was approved by the United Nations General Assembly. FAO has to play an important role in steering this event. So this is my role at the international level. I contribute. So this way, I of course not contribute. I can say I bridge between the government and these UN agencies as a representative. So I have to carry out the policies of the government. I have to just convey and convey both the ways. This is what my role is. So this is what the global level. Yes, Vaishnavi.
So lastly, I wanted to ask you, sir, in your opinion, do you think the present generation needs to aim higher? And, because we have access to resources, which we, probably in your time, you couldn't even dream of. So we have so much knowledge at our, fingertips. So how do you think we can make the best use of that? What is your message for the present generation, basically?
So Vaishnavi, now today's generation is a problem of plenty. So there are many options. During those days, only doctor, engineer, or something, only 2-3 options were there. But now there are a number of options. The generation is confused. That is one. Number two, there is a mismatch between the parental ambitions and personal capabilities and personal goals.
Yeah.
So there is a mismatch. And there are very, earlier in the family, there used to be a giant family. They used to counsel and address these issues. But now there are professional counseling centers are there. We have to identify what is his requirement. The father wants something, but the child wants something else. As you rightly said, the resources are there. I fully agree. So every generation is they've got fire. It is not that they don't have fire. I don't agree that they don't aim big. There are a number of people who are going abroad. My classmate son, he had all the resources, and his son wanted to go to US for almost 3 to 4 years, and he succeeded in going. People are, and then recently one of my friend's son, he came with his son to me and say that, so I want him to study something, but he wants to become a footballer. So what should I do? I said, you just let him do what he wants. You cannot force him to do engineering if he wants to become a footballer. So there are many options in this world today. So it's not that they have, they've got dreams, they've got ambitions, but sometimes there's a problem of entry. They are confused. So much of information, mobile technology is confusing so much. This social media, though it is a boon, but also a bane, I must say. Mobile, everybody. So when I ask my son, what are you doing? I say, I'm studying on mobile, he says. I don't know whether he's studying and doing. So it's really, of course, our generation is different. We used to write, we used to make notes and copies, but they say that everything they type it on mobile. I don't know what. So the generation, it's a change of generation. So definitely there is a confusion, but people are, I don't fully agree with you. I'm sorry, but people have got aim, people have got ambition, people are going. So sometimes some people, it's such a big country and the opportunities are less. Very few people succeed. Only success are seen, and that is the problem. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your story with us. If it's okay with you, I would like to ask those who are watching if they have any questions to ask you.
Yes, please. I'll be very happy to interact if somebody asks questions specifically. I'll be very happy to answer.
Yeah. If anyone likes to ask sir something, then they can go ahead. Just you can unmute yourself and you can ask.
This is from me, Rajendra.
Yes, Raju. Yes, please.
Yeah. First of all, Vaishnavi, I would like to add, one more thing on the, the men's issues that was mentioned and the background that Rajendra has himself took us through. One more thing that we all have to learn from his experiences, however big you are, don't forget the roots from where you have come. I have personally experienced that when I visited him in Delhi almost 20 years after we left the college. And of course, I was with another colleague of my tobacco industry person who also happened to be his classmate. And he took so much of affection, and he has taken time to visit us in our hotel after the meetings, etc. were over. So that is one thing, Rajendra, I admire, and I think that's all. Another thing that all who are listening to his speech have to learn. My question, Rajendra, is one on the contract farming. In the industry that I am working here in India, which is a tobacco industry, we have been fighting for some contract farming, which some of the international customers are wanting. But it's a government controlled crop, as you know, it is not being allowed. But what is your general take, not specifically for this particular crop? In general, do you think the contract farming is good for Indian farmer going forward?
Thank you, Raju, for your good words and your kindness. Coming to this specific question, I personally, I think it should be encouraged, and government promulgate. I don't want to get into those things, but I think I don't want to speak about the controversies. But I think my personal view is that I think it is very good in general for the contract, so that the productivity, and you can take in it can be taken, provided with certain guide checks and balances, and protection of farmers to be included in the contract. Otherwise, I don't see any problem. Yes, Raju. I don't want to speak at length, because this is
understand.
Yeah.
Understand, yes. Thank you, Rajendra.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
If anyone else wants to ask.
Bhavani is there. Bhavani Shankar. Yes. Yes, Bhavani.
Hi, Rajan. Bhavani
So
here.
how are you?
Good,
Yes,
Rajendra. Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
My
So
connectivity is a little weak, so I am on photo mode rather than a video mode.
So I would expect a question from you also, Bhavani. Yeah.
Now, one very, very simple at a little what you call difficult one. What like we have grown to a stage in life where we need to guide our children, or youngsters. Okay. Now you have seen life almost 360 degrees, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that you have seen every phase of life, and as well every experience you have seen, like let us say it's getting very difficult to drive youngsters to take them such careers where they would like to serve the people. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Earlier, when we were studying, yes, when somebody is going to civil services, or somebody is going to an university, say agriculture university, they have some clarity of thought that they're going to serve the civil society or going to serve the farmers. Now it's getting very difficult. How to tackle this?
So thank you very much, Bhavani. I know it's a very difficult question. At what stage we can guide means, I think as parents, our own what you call our own lifestyle, our own character, our own system, that inspires the children. They observe you very closely from the, father and mother are the first teachers. So they observe everything from you. That is the first thing I would like to tell. Regarding clarity, how to guide, how to take them, how to drive them through. So I think you must leave it to them. In my view, you can only just facilitate. You cannot force anybody to do something, which I've got my own experience in my own family. So you cannot force any child or any, you must see what is his interest, what is her interest, and accordingly you can guide them and facilitate and provide the resources to reach. Somebody wants to go abroad, you may not have resources, but you should try to facilitate. So this is what is my view. And clarity, I think the present generation is very smart, Bhavani, as compared to us. I must tell you, they're very smart. They know what they want to become. They have got more clarity than us. This is my experience. Of course, they are unable to reach. That is a different story, because of the opportunities are limited. So much of competition. They may not be able to succeed. But they've got the vision, they've got the the ambition, they have got a goal in their life. That is my understanding, and I, as an administrator, as a father, as a friend, I've seen these things. This is my experience. So thank you, Bhavani. Over to you, Vaishnavi.
Yeah. If anyone else wants to ask, you can go ahead and ask, or else we'll conclude the meeting.
మేడం, నా పేరు పాపిరెడ్డి అండి, నర్సిరెడ్డి గారి నేటివ్ విలేజ్. మీలాంటి మంచి ఇన్స్పిరేషనల్ వ్యక్తిని పరిచయం చేసినందుకు నర్సిరెడ్డి గారికి, మంచి ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేసినట్టు వైష్ణవ్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ, ముఖ్యంగా మీరు నేటి జనరేషన్కి ఎంతో ఇన్స్పిరేషన్ సార్. ఎన్నో అవరోధాలను అధిగమించి మీరు ఈరోజు ఇంటర్నేషనల్ స్థాయికి ఎదిగినందుకు చాలా గర్వపడుతున్నాం తెలంగాణ బిడ్డగా. ముఖ్యంగా సార్ ఇంకొక విషయం ఏంటంటే, మన క్వశ్చన్, భూమిని నమ్ముకున్న రైతేమో ఆత్మహత్యలు చేసుకుంటున్నారు, భూమిని అమ్మి వ్యాపారం చేసినటువంటి వ్యాపారస్తులేమో కోటీశ్వరులు అవుతున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు మనం ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్నటువంటి ఆకలి బాధను తీర్చాలంటే ఉత్పత్తి పెంచాలనుకుంటున్నాం. ఈ విధంగా తరిగిపోతున్నటువంటి భూమి లోపల ఉత్పాదకతను ఎలా పెంచగలుగుతాము అనేది ఒక సమస్య. బీహార్ లాంటి నోటోరియస్ స్టేట్లో కూడా మీరు చాలా సమర్థవంతంగా పనిచేయగలిగారు అంటే అది మీ యొక్క సామర్థ్యతని తెలియజేస్తుంది. ఆదిలాబాద్ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ నుంచి వచ్చినటువంటి మీరు ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్లో ఉంటూ ఆ జిల్లాకి ప్రత్యేకంగా ఏ విధంగానైనా సహాయం చేయగలుగుతున్నారా అనేది నా యొక్క ప్రశ్న.
ఎస్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ అండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ పాపిరెడ్డి గారు. సో నేను కూడా నర్సిరెడ్డి గారికి చాలా ధన్యవాదాలు ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఆర్గనైజ్ చేసినందుకు. ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే, మీరు అడిగిన దానికి భూమి దీని గురించి ఏంటంటే, ల్యాండ్ సైజ్ తగ్గిపోతున్నది, అర్బనైజేషన్ పెరుగుతుంది, పాపులేషన్ అవుతున్నది. కానీ మనము అంటే ప్రొడక్టివిటీ పెంచుతున్నాం మనం, కొత్త టెక్నాలజీ తోటి పెరుగుతున్నది, కానీ క్వాలిటీ తగ్గుతుంది. కరెక్టే మీరు అన్నట్టు. కానీ మనకు ఇప్పుడు అవసరము ఇప్పుడు 305 మిలియన్ టన్స్ ఇప్పుడు మనము ఫుడ్ గ్రెయిన్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేసాం ఈ సంవత్సరం. ఫస్ట్ మనం అంటే ఇండిపెండెన్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఎంత, తర్వాత గ్రాడ్యువల్గా మేము 27 ఇయర్స్ క్రితం మేము ఎగ్జామినేషన్ ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు 168 మిలియన్ టన్స్ దాన్నే గుర్తుపెట్టుకునే వాళ్ళం. ఇప్పుడు 305 మిలియన్ టన్స్ ఫుడ్ గ్రెయిన్ ప్రొడక్షన్ అవుతుంది. సో టెక్నాలజీ పెరుగుతుంది. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ ఛాలెంజ్. క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్, వాటర్ రిసోర్సెస్ తగ్గుతున్నాయి, పాపులేషన్ పెరుగుతుంది. కానీ ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు అవుతుంది, ఇంకా మనం వీ హ్యావ్ టు లివ్ విత్ ఇట్. అదొకటి. రెండవది, మీరు అంటున్నారు ఇప్పుడు అంటే మీరు ఆదిలాబాద్ గురించి అడిగారు. ఆదిలాబాద్కి ఏం చేయగలుగుతారు? ఆదిలాబాద్ వెళ్ళినప్పుడు సో నేను అక్కడ స్టూడెంట్స్తో ఇంటరాక్ట్ అవుతాను, తర్వాత అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్తో ఇంటరాక్ట్ అవుతాను, రిలేటివ్స్ ఏమైనా ఇష్యూస్ ఉంటే అవన్నింటినీ సో నేను నా లెవెల్లో కంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నం. తర్వాత మా జిల్లాకు ఏమైనా స్కీమ్స్ కానీ ఏమన్నా ఇది ఉంటే స్టేట్ లెవెల్లో మాట్లాడి చేయడానికి నేను ప్రయత్నం చేస్తుంటానండి. ఆ తర్వాత సో ఇంకేమడి ఐఎమ్ సారీ పాపిరెడ్డి, ఇంకేమన్నా క్వశ్చన్ ఇదే కదా?
బీహార్లో మీరు చాలా సమర్థవంతంగా విధులు నిర్వహించగలిగారు. నోటోరియస్ స్టేట్ అనేటువంటి నోషన్ ఉంది అది బీహార్కి.
సో
అయినా కూడా మీరు చాలా
క్షమించండి, అది నోటోరియస్ స్టేట్ కాదండి, చాలా మంచి స్టేటు. నేను అక్కడ ఆల్మోస్ట్ 19 సంవత్సరాలు పనిచేశాను, ఏ ప్రాబ్లం లేకుండా. అక్కడ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ మనం ఏంటంటే మీడియా వల్ల దానివల్ల చూసుకుంటామే కానీ దానివల్ల మనం పర్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది, కానీ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి. కానీ ఈ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఎక్కడైనా ఉన్నాయి అట్లాంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్. కానీ ఏంటంటే మీడియాలో ఎక్కువ ప్రొజెక్షన్ అయ్యేసరికి అది అయిపోతుంది. క్షమించండి. ఆ స్టేట్లో చాలా బాగా మంచి సపోర్టు. మనం ఆనెస్ట్గా ఉంటే, పని బాగా చేస్తే ఎప్పుడు ఎక్కడ ఏ ప్రాబ్లం ఉండదు. క్లారిటీ, నా యొక్క ఉద్దేశం అది. ఏ ఇబ్బంది లేకుండా నేను చాలా దాదాపుగా 9.5 సంవత్సరాలు కలెక్టర్గా ఉన్నాను. మంచి డిపార్ట్మెంట్లో, రోడ్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ కంప్లీట్గా, ఇంజనీరు కాంట్రాక్టర్ ఓరియంటెడ్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్లో కూడా నేను సెక్రటరీగా ఉన్నాను. ఏ ఇబ్బంది మనం స్ట్రేట్గా ఆనెస్ట్గా ఉంటే ఏ ఇబ్బంది రాదు అనేటువంటి నా అభిప్రాయము, నా యొక్క ఉద్దేశం అండి. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ది 3 things. థ్యాంక్ యూ పాపిరెడ్డి గారు ఫర్ యువర్ క్వశ్చన్. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. I know you had to take out time from your schedule to join us. So thank you once again for joining.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. I would like to, express my deep sense of gratitude to Narsireddy Garu for organizing this program. And also to Vaishnavi for interviewing me very nicely. You're very friendly discussion. You gave me a lot of space.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, afternoon. I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, చాలా వరకు సెంట్రల్లీ స్పాన్సర్డ్ స్కీమ్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో నేషనల్ ఫుడ్ సెక్యూరిటీ మిషన్ కానివ్వండి, పిఎంకేఎస్వై కానివ్వండి, అందులో డిబిటీ అమలు కావటం లేదు సార్. స్లో డైరెక్ట్ బెనిఫిట్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్